Teachers often spend hours preparing for the first day of school, yet make a mistake within the first 10 or 15 minutes that can have ramifications that last the entire school year. And they don't even know they're making this mistake. So in today's video, we're going to talk about what this big first day mistake is. We're going to talk about how to fix it, why it's so important, and then what to do after you fix it, which is a really important part of today's video. But first, please do me a favor and subscribe to this channel. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Leave a comment below. I would really appreciate it. So, what is this big mistake? The mistake is not teaching your classroom management plan within the first 10 or 15 minutes of the first day of school. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to finish teaching it within that time. It just means that you need to begin teaching it within that first 10 or 15 minutes. Now, if you're an elementary school teacher and you want to play a getting to know you game first before you begin teaching, so if you start teaching 30 minutes later, it's perfectly okay because you have much more time. You have the whole day, so that's perfectly okay. Otherwise, it must be your first real lesson of the school year. The reason why this is so important is three reasons. And the first is that it sends a message to your class. It sends the message to your class that it is your #1 priority. That protecting their right to learn and enjoy being in your classroom without bullying, without being made fun of, and without interruptions to learning is the most important thing. And for all effective teachers, it is the most important thing. You get this down first. You become an expert at classroom management first, and then you're free to become an extraordinary teacher. So it sends this really important message. The second reason is that as soon as you finish teaching your plan, you can start holding your students accountable. And so if you don't, let's say you teach your plan in the afternoon or a couple days later and a student misbehaves, well then you're already starting a bad precedence by reminding the student or telling them, well, in the future we're going to talk about that, but that behavior isn't okay, and this kind of thing. So it already sends you down the wrong track. You want to start that plan and start being able to hold students accountable right away. And so this is another reason why you want to get that finished as soon as you can. The next reason why, and probably the most important one, is that it establishes your identity. It establishes your identity. And it establishes your identity in 3 areas, and mainly to do with how you teach lessons. So it shows your students, it communicates to them that you're highly detailed in everything you do. And so it's really important that you teach the heck out of this first lesson. It needs to be a model for all your lessons to come. So you want to teach it in extreme detail with lots of modeling, you modeling, and then having students model as well to prove their learning. You also want to teach with lots of clarity. There should be no doubt at the end of the lesson what does and doesn't constitute breaking rules in your classroom, and exactly what the consequences are, how the students reach those consequences, the things you'll say to students to let them know, or the signal you'll give them to let them know they have a consequence. You want everything laid out on the table as soon as possible. The next thing that shows your identity is that you're a person of high standards. High standards. And this is much easier to shock students into high standards the first day of school than to try to gradually raise them as the year goes on, or to realize, oh my gosh, my standards are so low. The behavior is atrocious and they're not getting anything done. Remember, everything transfers. So the standards for behavior are also going to transfer into the standards of academics and the standards of performing, of getting work done, of fulfilling the routines and procedures. Everything transfers. It all matters. And so you're really establishing your identity as someone who expects high standards, someone who's only going to pursue excellence. And so again, you want to really, really teach it. Be bold in your instruction. Enjoy teaching. This is the great part. One of the wonderful things about teaching is giving lessons. And so really enjoy this process. Now, as to how to teach your classroom management plan, the specifics, this is a video that we did maybe a week or so ago. I'll leave it in the description, a link in the description, and also at the end of the video, there'll be a place where you can click and watch the video. At the very end, there'll be a screen there. But also really important as this why, is what you do after you teach your plan. So the first thing is you must provide a copy for home. So the copy is for the students' use and for their parents. I like to have a place where parents sign and then cut off and bring the receipt back to you that they have read the plan. You want parents on notice. It's also something that you'll go over at the first back to school night to make sure that you're answering all questions and that you're clear about what your plan is. And so it should be published and written clearly in that that parent handbook that goes home, so you can send it along with that. I would recommend sending it separately than other things, so I would send it home on that very first day. Same with if you're a middle or high school teacher. It should be really an important part of your syllabus, so near the front of your syllabus. It's also, again, it's something that you'll tell to students, hey, this is your copy too. You need to be aware of this, which brings me to the next thing, is that you need to require your students to know it. So once it's taught to them, once you've taught your plan to your students, and once they've gotten a hard copy of it, and you'll also put it, of course, you'll put it on your website as well, but once they have a copy of it, you need to tell them, okay, this is it. You know it. If you have any questions about it, ask now. Ask part of the checking for understanding. Make sure that you take questions, but say, you know, you're on record. This is how it's going to be. And in this way, you avoid the arguments, especially if you've been really detailed about where your line is. You don't have gray areas. You're following through consistently and your students know it. That's the recipe for not having any pushback from students, any arguments or disrespect, things like that. So you're putting them on record. Hey, this is it. I'm going to start following through. You have your copy. Ask questions now. And that brings us to the third thing, is that you always must promise your students that you're going to follow that plan to a T, exactly how it's written, exactly how you taught them. And this also includes, so if you taught your students that you're going to respectfully inform that they have a warning, so maybe it's just you have a warning because you broke rule number 2. Because you've taught that, you're going to emphasize in your promise that You're going to follow through respectfully. You're never going to yell at them, raise your voice. You're never going to lecture them. This is a wonderful way of putting soft pressure on you. And also, it really helps all these things, all this that we're going over, really helps with students to start following your rules from the first day. You may get tested early, 1 or 2 students here or there, but if you do it like this on that first day and you teach it early, you will have, I don't care where you teach, you will have a well-behaved class really early, like right away. You shouldn't be losing control in the beginning. If you are, then it's likely because you've not done one of these. You haven't fulfilled all these things. So it's really, really important. But my promise to you is that if you do this, if you teach your plan in the 7 steps that I recommend, and you use our classroom management plans, which have proven to be effective for decades and with thousands of teachers, you're going to have an incredible school year. Okay? Hope this helps. Hope you're having a great week. I'll see you next time.